Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and if you are brand new here, extra special welcome to you. Today we are going to be putting together some freezer meals for the fall. I don't know about you guys, but when September rolls around, all of a sudden it feels like the calendar gets crazy for a little bit. It's just the adjustment of getting back into new routines and school starting and just life in general being quite full. So knowing that that season is right around the corner, I am trying to kick my butt in gear and do something that I know that my future self will thank me for, and that is to prepare some meals that will be really easy for us to pull from the freezer when it is go time and I just feel like I need a break. So if you are looking for some great family-friendly, easy freezer meal prep, that is what we are going to be doing together today. So the very first recipe that we are going to be preparing for the freezer today is meatballs. There is a meatball recipe that I have loved using for our family for years because it is really neutral as a meatball, and I prefer to be able to kind of choose, do we feel like having Italian right now? Do we feel like having kind of more of an Asian inspired meatball? So this is a meatball that, like I said, can kind of go either way. We are going to be assembling all of these ingredients in a bowl and then flash freezing them before sealing them up to put away into the freezer. But to begin, I am going to dice and actually cook this onion first, just so that it's already pre-cooked before it goes into the meatball. The next thing that I'm going to do is start soaking the breadcrumbs, just so that there's a little bit more moisture to those before they are added into the meatball. So to do that, I'm going to take 1/3 a cup of breadcrumbs and a 1/2 cup of milk. Right now my onions are cooling and this breadcrumb milk mixture has been sitting for about 15 minutes. So I am now going to add in my ground pork and my ground beef. I have about 1 pound of both, and I really like the flavor combination of these two together. I also love that it stretches this recipe out quite a bit so that I'm getting a really good number of meatballs that will be able to feed my family across at least 2 meals. Next up, we're gonna add 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, add in a few cloves of minced garlic. Don't really have an approximation here. I really do measure with my heart when it comes to garlic. Now I'm going to spoon the cooled onions back in. You don't need to wait for them to be like room temp or anything. Really just wait until they are comfortable enough for you to be able to work them into the meatballs without burning your hands. That is all for fresh ingredients in here. Next, I'm going to add my seasoning. I'm doing about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I really like a coarse salt. I'm also doing a teaspoon of ground black pepper, a teaspoon of basil as opposed to Italian or oregano, just to keep it neutral. Then I do just a little bit less than 1/2 teaspoon of red chili flakes, just to add a little bit more flavor. My next step now is preparing these to flash freeze, and basically with flash freezing, you just want to put them into the freezer for like an hour to keep them from getting really mushy in the freezer bag. It helps them to hold their shape a little bit better before you actually pack them up and put them away. Luckily, I do have a very large baking sheet, and I also do have a fridge out in our garage that's pretty empty right now, so I should actually be able to fit this whole thing in there with, I'm hoping, all of the meatballs on it so that I can flash freeze all of them in one round. Depending on your freezer space though, you might need to do this in a few rounds. While my meatballs are freezing, I do want to get a pasta sauce ready. After about 45 minutes, you're gonna scoop the whole onions right out. And then any other large chunks that in here, you can just crush along the sides. One of the reasons why the fall is such a busy season for families is obviously because it also means back to school. And whether you are sending your kids off to school this year or are home educating like we are, you might also be looking for activities that you can do at home with your kids that keep them engaged and excited about learning. In our family, we are huge fans of KiwiCo for this because they are really passionate about raising up the next generation of innovators and change makers. They offer multiple different subscription lines and crates for all ages that are all really designed to help develop things like critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity, all while your kids are having so much fun. One of the things that I am so excited to be introducing to my kids this year from KiwiCo is their Pretend Play Early Math Bundle. And it comes with the cutest activities, including a little baking set that is designed to help your child learn early math and fractions. It comes with little recipe cards, so your child learns things like instruction following, but then they also get to practice matching by figuring out what ingredients they need to bake with, counting to figure out how many things need to go into the bowl, and of course fractions and how many parts are left in the whole, halves, fourths, sixths, all of these things that can start to be taught from a preschool age to set a strong foundation for math into the future. It also comes with their fun dough pasta maker, which is something that my kids have been playing with nonstop since we got it. This is a really fun way to teach early geometry. Your child has the opportunity to explore shapes and make patterns with the shape cards. Our kids love to create a little pretend pasta restaurant and take different orders from each other, which is amazing for developing social skills. And learning how to feed the dough through the machine and use the cutting wheel is incredible for motor skills and hand-eye coordination. The last crate in the bundle is their Build a Burger Grill. This crate is all about practicing sequencing, patterning, and early math by matching up all of the ingredients to fill burger orders. And of course, it's an incredible way to inspire pretend play. And there is so much research that points to pretend play and just play in general being the most effective way for children to learn different concepts, especially concepts like math. So we are so excited that this bundle is going to be part of our homeschool routines this fall. If you are also looking for different learning resources to incorporate in your home that help to promote learning through play, KiwiCo has opened up my discount code to be available across their entire store. So this bundle will be discounted for viewers of my channel. You can get the bundle. You can also get each of the individual crates that I just showed you individually as well, which is huge. And if any of you are interested in tapping into the convenience of actually signing up for one of KiwiCo's monthly subscription lines, if you want to sign your child up to get fun, hands-on STEM projects delivered to your door every single month, that code BETH will save you 50% off of your first crate if your child is over the age of 3. And if you have a child under the age of 3, you can still save. That code BETH will save you 20% on any of those monthly crates. As I mentioned, if you guys are interested in any of the early math crates that you saw here today, that code BETH will get you 15% off of checkout, and that will also apply to any of the different items on KiwiCo's store. So I know that you guys will find something on their website that you will love and will help you to develop your little learners at home as well. So thank you so much to KiwiCo for working with me on today's video. Okay, it is the next day. Don't ask me how long it took me to get all of that pasta sauce off of the entire kitchen, my body, the literal ceiling. We're diving back into making some more freezer-friendly recipes today, and the first one that I'm going to start with today is a Mongolian beef stir fry. I like to have a good mix between recipes that can be done in the crock pot, but also ones that can still be thrown into a pan or a skillet to cook. This one falls into that category, so let's get started. So to make this recipe, we've got beef. I'm going to be using sirloin tip steak, and I'm going to cut this into thin strips. I've also got some baby carrots here that I'm going to cut into matchsticks. We've got some green onions, some fresh minced garlic, some fresh ginger paste, soy sauce, and then brown sugar. First things first, let's cut the beef. We are going to work on cutting up the fresh ingredients. So I've got my green onion here, and I've also got baby carrots to cut into matchsticks. You could use a larger carrot for this. It'd probably be easier for making into matchsticks, but I'm just using what we had on hand. Now we we will need a half a teaspoon of fresh ginger, about 4 cloves of minced garlic, a half a cup of soy sauce. So I am going low sodium on this one. A half a cup of packed brown sugar, and a 1/4 a cup of water. The only thing to do now is literally remove any air from the bag and smoosh it around. That's it, just enough so that all of the sauce and like sugar can get mixed all throughout the bag. And then you are good to go. This next one is a huge fan favorite in our family, and it is a CROCKPOT red coconut chicken curry. The curry is very mild. My kids actually love it, so I make it often, and it's even better when you can just throw it all into a freezer bag, defrost it, and then throw it into the CROCKPOT when you're ready. So let's put it together now. I'm going to start by just trimming some of the fat off of the chicken breast and prepping it a little bit before I put it into the freezer bag. Realistically, you could just take the chicken breast right out of the package and throw it into the freezer bag, but I do like to just prep the chicken breast a little bit first. And the only other ingredient in this recipe that requires any chopping, cutting is just the peppers, which I like to do just a really thin slice on. Peppers I am actually going to freeze separately, just because I like in this recipe in the crock-pot to add them in the last kind of like 40 to 30 minutes of cook time. You can cook this recipe on low for 6 to 8 hours or high for 3 to 4 hours. But if you cook the peppers in there for the whole time, you could do that, but it would give you a little bit of a mushier, softer pepper. So it just kind of depends on what your preferred consistency is. If you want the pepper to be a little bit snappier, freeze this in a separate bag and attach it with this recipe so it's all good to go. But then you can write yourself a note to add it in at the end of the cooking time. So now all that's left for us here is just preparing the coconut sauce to go into this bag with the chicken. So you're gonna need a whole can of coconut milk. I prefer to use a full fat can for the most flavor. Pour that right on in there. And next we are going to do about a tablespoon of Thai red curry paste. I really love this one from the brand Thai Kitchen. Then we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of fish sauce, a teaspoon of fresh ginger, and a 1/4 cup of dark brown sugar. Once again, just flatten that against the counter to remove any air. Give it another good smush. I feel like this is one of those ones that looks so freaky and just like honestly not good in the bag, but I promise the flavor is incredible when you do actually cook it. And I'm going to be stacking these right on top of each other in the freezer so I know that they are a pair. This one is ready to go. Our next recipe is like blow your mind easy. It is one of the simplest things ever, so I'm excited to show you guys. All you're gonna need is a can of cranberry sauce, some onion soup mix that you could also make yourself, and all of those details will be in the recipe information down below. About 2 pounds of pork tenderloin, and then frozen or fresh green beans. If you were using frozen green beans, you really would have nothing at all to prepare for this recipe, which is so nice. Because I am using fresh, I am going to wash these and just trim them before adding them to the bag. Now that we've got our beans in the bag, our next step is to add in the onion soup mix. Next, we are going to add the cranberry sauce. If you are concerned about sugar content, using a canned option of cranberry sauce, you could also just make your own cranberry sauce. That would be an option as well. And now that that is in, the last step is just to add our pork to the bag. There we have another recipe ready for the freezer. It is a slow Sunday afternoon over here, and it's the perfect time to put together some more recipes for a busy fall. So the next recipe that I'm going to be prepping are cilantro, lime, chicken, and lentil bowls that I will be serving over rice. This is another great one that requires very little prep time, and as soon as you throw it into the crock pot, it is very much hands off. We love a good bowl as a family, and anything with this much protein in it always gets the green light from my husband too. So let's put this together. So we're gonna use boneless, skinless chicken, either breast or thigh. Dried lentils. I am going with green lentils just because these ones hold their form a little bit better in the crock pot. They don't get quite as mushy. Some fresh cilantro as well as 3 green onions. I'm just using what I have left over in the fridge. Some fresh minced garlic and salsa verde. The original recipe here does also include jalapeno, but I am going to be omitting that just for the sake of my kids' spice tolerance and also because the salsa verde that I have does have a little bit of kick. We are going to get started with the very little chopping that we have. All we need to do is chop up these green onions, and I am going to clean up the chicken thighs a little bit. Once again, just cutting some of the fat off before I put them into the freezer bag. Next, we're gonna add our 2 cups of dried lentils. Salsa verde, about 3 cloves of garlic, add in our green onion, and finally about a half a cup of fresh chopped cilantro. At cook time, I will likely throw in a little bit of frozen corn around the 30 minutes left mark while I'm slow cooking, just to add a little bit more veg and a little bit of color as well. And then I will serve this over basmati rice with a little bit of lime juice and some fresh cilantro on top. The next and final recipe that we're going to be making together today is some homemade dough for pizzas. This recipe is great because it will give you dough for 4 separate pizzas. So you can make a pizza to everyone's preferences, or you can set it aside for a couple of different dinners. You could also double this if you want to have 8 pizzas in your freezer, which is perfect, but I'm just gonna do 4 today. This recipe, we're going to need quick rise yeast, some bread flour, some sugar, a little bit of salt, as well as olive oil. The first thing that we are going to start with is 2 cups of warm water. You want the temperature of this to be like 115 Celsius, so I always use a thermometer for this. There's been way too many times with recipes that I've tried to add in yeast with it being the wrong temperature, and you will just find that your yeast will not get the consistency that you need it to with the sugar, that like bubbly look where you know that it's active and it's working. So I will often overwarm mine and actually wait to see the temperature drop to where it needs to be, as opposed to not having warm enough water. Okay, our warm water is good to go, so I'm gonna pour that into my mixing bowl. I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of sugar and 4.5 teaspoons of quick rise yeast. Just set a timer for 10 minutes to let that get nice and foamy. We've got a beautiful foam happening in here. Now that this dough has been kneaded, I am going to cover it with plastic wrap and let it rise for about 30 minutes. Okay, this has certainly doubled in size. There you have it, 4 homemade pizza doughs to pop into the freezer, and I love that these are also the perfect things to pull out if you are maybe going on a date night, you're gonna be out of the house and you need something quick for a babysitter to make for the kids. My pizza is great for that kind of thing, so let's add these to the freezer as well. Well, you guys, those are all of the freezer-friendly recipes that I have for you today. Let me know in the comments section which one you are most excited to try this fall, and if you did like this video, I would love if you could actually give it a thumbs up here on YouTube and can, consider subscribing to my channel. It is so helpful for my channel when you do like and subscribe, so thank you. Before I wrap up, I did also want to remind you that if any of you are interested in checking out KiwiCo, especially their early math pretend play bundle, that you can save 15% off of the bundle that I showed you in this video with the code Beth at checkout. That code Beth will also save you 50% off if you sign up for one of their crates for a child over the age of 3 and 20% off if you are signing up for a child under the age of 3. So the code Beth does it all. Thank you so much to KiwiCo for working with me on this video. Thank you so much for being here, and as always, I love you guys, I'm praying for you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye!